Okay guys, it's finally time to get to the unboxing of a reel that's been sitting around for over a month waiting for this video. And of course that is the JDM Shimano Metanium DC. The final piece to the DC puzzle. Alright. Of course it comes in Shimano's matte black box with the silver foil lettering. Then of course here's the paperwork. And strangely enough I didn't get a gift, but I think they included it in the CONQUEST box. Now the Metanium DC does come with this pretty nice neoprene pouch, which is cool considering the price. That's a good thing. And of course some oil and some foot protectors for the reel. Alright, let's put the pouch and the paperwork back in the box. Let's get to this thing. Alright, let's take a look at this reel. Ooh yeah, that's very, very smooth. I can let you guys take a good look at it. It's kind of got a color similar to the CHRONARCH MGL. And of course this is the DC model. It's got the digital control brake system. And I got the HG model. I'm sorry, the XG model for the extra high gear. Okay, so I'm going to do my customary evaluation and inspection, and then I will get back to you. Okay guys, so I'm done with my customary inspection, and let's go over it. Now we got a table full of Metaniums here, and basically that's just to give a little bit of a history lesson. Now the 13 Metanium, I guess, is the original Metanium of the newer or newest body style. This came out in 2013, of course. And then 2 years later, the DC model came out. So this is referred to as the 2015 Metanium DC. And then, I think a year later, the MGL came out in 2016. So just to let you know, the MGL replaced the 13 model, but it did not replace the DC model. The DC model still sits on top of the Metanium ladder as the top of the line Metanium, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's put the MGL aside for a minute and talk about these two. Okay, so basically the Metanium DC is the exact same reel as the 13 Metanium with a few exceptions and a few changes. Now the obvious change is the color scheme. They went away from the two-tone paint job that kind of put some people off. It kind of put me off at the beginning when I saw pictures of it, but they went with a more traditional, higher end looking, dark graphite looking paint job that looks more high-end and is very close to the CHRONARCH MGL. I put them side by side and I really couldn't tell the difference. And also the knobs are a little different. They are no longer asymmetrical, and they have these three little grooves cut into them. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. I didn't know if I would like that or not, but turning this handle, they are very comfortable because they're the same material, the super soft, grippy Septon that Shimano uses in their knobs. Of course, the end caps look a lot better on the DC model, but I'm not too sure about these cutouts or these holes here. I don't know if I like the looks of that, but definitely the end caps definitely look better than the plain Jane ones that were on the stock 13. So basically everything else is the same. It's got a magnesium frame, magnesium handle side plate, CI4 palming side plate. It's got 10 ball bearings, 9+1 roller bearing, and yeah, the only real difference other than the cosmetic is the braking system and the spool. So let's get to that. But before we get to that, I'm going to weigh this thing. Okay, so I got the scale out. Now, in case you didn't know, that whenever Shimano puts a DC unit, braking unit, and spool into a reel, it's always going to gain some weight. So let's see how much weight this thing gained. Now, the original 13 weighed around 6 ounces. I've got aftermarket parts on here, but yeah, it looks like it weighs right at 6 ounces or 5.99. Okay, so the DC model weighs in at 6.8. So as expected, the reel gained weight, almost an ounce, but yeah, it's not heavy at all. And it's got the same awesome palming ergonomics as the other Metaniums. Now it still has this ugly little retainer. I wish they would have changed that out. In fact, I wish they would have given it a whole different handle assembly, because it's just, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like this handle assembly and the retainer. But oh well, there's always the aftermarket. Okay, so basically we are going to talk about the DC unit, but I want to weigh the spool first. Now this is a 100 capacity spool, and you can see part of the DC braking system attached to it. So also, when you get a DC reel, the spools are going to be generally heavier than the non-DC versions. I believe the Metanium spool was 12.4 ounces and the DC spool is 17.4, so that is a whole 5, I should say grams, not ounces. That is a whole 5 grams heavier for the DC model. I'm going to pull out the 13 spool. Yeah, 12.5 versus 17.4. So yeah, anytime you get a DC reel, the spool's going to gain weight over the previous model, but as you can see, the line capacity is the same. But that trade-off is not really a trade-off in my eyes because of the performance of the DC braking, which we're going to talk about here right now. Now, I've went over DC braking before in the Scorpion DC video, but for any newcomers to my channel, I'll go ahead and explain it again for you. Now, DC stands for digital control. And basically what that is instead of using magnetic brakes or centrifugal brakes or dual brakes, Shimano's DC is what they call a microprocessor. And this is it right here. And the microprocessor activates an electromagnet or electromagnets, not sure if there's one or more. It activates the electromagnets only when it senses the spool is having an overrun. So there's supposed to be an optical eye somewhere, an optical sensor that monitors the rotation of the spool. So when it senses a drastic change in spool revolutions, it applies the brakes only when necessary. So how does this benefit you? Well, generally, because it only applies brakes only when necessary, you will generally get longer casts on average from lure to lure, and you'll be able to have far less overruns than normal. Now, when I say overrun, I mean when you get the bird's nest during the beginning or the middle of the cast, not at the end when you forget to stop the spool with your thumb. So that's the benefits of DC braking. And of course, if you've heard anyone cast a DC reel, it makes a really cool sound. And in fact, I've heard that the Metanium DC, the whine on this is actually a lot louder than the others. And I want to hear that. So yeah, that's basically what DC braking is in a nutshell. And in case you're wondering, where does the microprocessor or chip get its electricity to be able to do this? This unit recharges itself with the kinetic energy made from every cast. So DC reels are the most advanced reels on Earth, bar none. And that's not even a debate. So yeah, basically that's in a nutshell what DC is. Now, the version of DC that the Metanium has is what they call the IDC5. And let me show you how that works. So basically, you have 3 line modes, okay? So basically in fishing we have 3 different lines, of course: monofilament, fluorocarbon, and braid, or what is it? Braid is short for polyethylene, or in Japan they call it PE. So basically you have a setting internally down on the bottom of the side plate where you choose what line you're using or what line mode you want to use. Of course, you can mix match if you want to. If you want to run braid on nylon mode, nobody's stopping you. But right now it's on nylon. And then to change over to the next mode, you just take your fingernail and take that little raised area, and now we're on PE mode or braid mode. And then if you want to go to fluoro mode, there. Now you're on fluoro mode. Now in my experience, fluorocarbon mode is the strongest braking profile because of how wiry and how much memory that fluorocarbon has. And PE or mono are the longest casting modes. Now in my experience, PE mode gives you the least amount of braking and the longest cast. But some people have told me that the mono mode gives longer cast. I'm going to test that out in the field. I can tell you this, the actuation going from line mode to line mode is a lot more precise, or a lot more refined on the Metanium than versus the Scorpion DC, which also has the IDC5. Okay, so once you've picked your line mode, you choose your brake setting from this dial. So to open up the side plate, of course, you go to open. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then A for automatic. So a lot of guys will probably just choose the A, and this will just basically adjust the brake to whatever lure you've tied on. But if you want a little bit more control, I believe 4 has the strongest braking for the lightest lures, or the lures with the least aerodynamics. Then of course 3 is even less braking, 2 is even less braking, and then of course 1 is for the really heavy aerodynamic lures that you want to really long bomb out there. There's a weight range for each of these settings. I may leave a chart in this video to show you guys. But apparently this IDC5 allows you to cast down to 3/16 of an ounce, which was kind of a weakness for DC reels in the past, that they couldn't really handle supposedly light lures. But apparently they were supposed to have addressed that with the IDC5. Of course, this DC is not as complicated or as doesn't have as many adjustments as the one on the ANTARES DC, but of course that reel is the top of the line Shimano baitcaster. Alright guys, so there we go, the 2015 Shimano Metanium DC. I did not know whether I wanted to buy this reel or not, because on paper I was not impressed with the IDC5, but I've seen several videos, and in fact I saw a casting shootout by BCSG Fishing where the Metanium beat out a bunch of other tuned reels and a PISCIFUN Phantom. So yeah, that kind of pushed me over the edge to get one. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do an on the water casting impressions with this. I'm going to show you how the different line modes work, and maybe alongside this reel right here, which is the Scorpion DC, the most affordable DC reel that has the exact same braking system, at least on paper, as this. And then I'm going to get out in the casting field and do some long distance casts against this, which is the Metanium MGL, and see which one actually casts better. And then I'm going to take all 3 DC reels and put them through the standardized testing and see basically what's what in Shimano's DC world. Alright guys, thanks a lot.